All right, guys, here it is. My first ever race recap. Also my first ever race on the bike. Got plenty of experience with other types of racing, nothing on the bike. So this is the 2023 Winchester Circuit Race up in Meadow Vista around the Winchester Country Club. And we're just getting ready to, we're just rolling into the start and at the top of this hill, so I figured I'd go over some things real quick. So yeah, first race ever. This is the 35 plus Cat4 and 5 novice race. We were the first race that morning at 8 a.m. It was already warm by that point. I think the high that day was like 90 something. So the pro race that was at like 2 something, I feel bad for those guys because it was cooking out there. But yeah, it was first race ever. I went out with just a goal of trying to figure things out. Not trying to kill myself or anything, just wanted to get home safe and kind of figure things out. I've watched enough other YouTube videos to know that you're not gonna really go out and just kind of crush things your first time if you don't know what you're doing. So yeah, we'll go around the first lap, which starts pretty much right here. Power data should come on here momentarily. And there we go, off we were. So this is Cat 4 and 5 together. I think there were roughly 4 or 5 people in Cat 5, the novice. The rest are Cat 4 guys, but total people in the race, I think there was 14. So I mean, right here off the bat, I intended to just kind of hang out in the back and kind of see, kind of check the lay of the land, I guess it was. But this course was really hilly. And one of the things I went and I rode it once before just to kind of see what was going on. And I know on a lot of the hills, just because I'm a heavier guy, I weigh 193 naked. So, you know, fully kitted up more than that. And I've got decently deep wheels on the bike. So I know on the downhills, once I get up to speed, I can roll pretty well. And so I just wanted to use the first lap to kind of judge how much I could use those hills, the downhills at least, to my benefit, knowing the uphills would kind of be a struggle of mine. So just kind of hanging out in the back here, feeling out the speed. I thought, you know, first lap people might be excited and kind of take off, but my heart rate was already higher than I really wanted it to be. I mean, it's sitting at 170, not really pushing it. I mean, I'm not even pedaling at this point, but a lot of rolling hills on the first half of the course. I'll show a course profile later, but there's a lot of up and down. The first half of the loop is more downhills leading into uphills, which is kind of nice. Like I said, on the downhills, I can get cooking pretty good. But the second half, unfortunately, is a lot of climbing without any downhill run up to them. So it's a little more spicy. There were a couple teams, I think, or at least guys that were, you know, kitted up in team stuff. This might be a Velo Kings guy or something in the blue on the right here. Alto Velo, I think, which kind of has the fade jerseys. And then there were some, I think, 3 Enjoy cycling guys. There's 2 there at the front, and then 1 kind of like in the attack right now. So this is the first kind of like steep, little punchy portion that I was curious if it was going to kind of break people up, and it kind of did. I think you can kind of see 2. I think those are both Enjoy cycling guys, kind of taking off out the front. But I mean, no one was worried about that on the first lap in this Cat 4-5 race. But as you can see here, they've got a decent gap on me headed towards the downhill. I did continue pedaling, but I was just kind of trying to gauge, like, okay, cool, well, I can catch up to these guys a little bit, just as I suspected, run right back up to the group. I might have even, maybe not on this one, but I might have tapped my brakes, which, you know, obviously horrible decision. I should have just coasted up to the middle of these guys or something like that. But at this point, I'm like, okay, cool. The downhills worked just like I was suspecting. So the first half of this lap, I can kind of use those downhills to my advantage and just relax a little bit, and I'll let my fat butt kind of catch me up to the group. So I was okay still being off the back here, just kind of taking advantage of a little bit of draft. I'm not really right up on their wheel to take full advantage, but like I said, on the rolling stuff on the first half of the course, I was pretty happy with how things were going. And as soon as you come around this turn, there's one small-ish kind of climb up this hill right here, and then you begin, I think it's like 3/4 of a mile of a downhill. So I was excited to get to that point, and I think in my head I kind of wanted to be towards the front kind of when I started that, just so I wouldn't have to worry about people, next to me at 45 miles an hour. I've done other types of racing, so I'm not too worried about being in close quarters with other people, but being a Cat4 or 5 race, I wasn't sure at other people's levels, so better safe than sorry. But then up this hill, I mean, you see 450 watts, everybody might have had the same idea as me. So I said, okay, whatever, I'll hang out in the back. No big deal. I know I get to relax for basically 3/4 of a mile and not pedal at all. I'm just gonna have to probably weave around some people as we get going. So takeoff, I forget. I mean, heart rate up to 181, which for me is cooking pretty good. So it's a good thing I get a break here and let it drop back down. But this downhill is fun. This was, I mean, definitely the most fun part of the course, since I'm not really cut out for climbing. But right around here, I think I might have even used a tiny bit of brake, just because, like I said, I was a little trying to feel out other people and how active they were going to be on this downhill. But as you can see, I started cruising past some of the people, lighter people, less aero wheel setup, something, but started cruising past people. The wind was coming from the left, I think, at this point. I remember going around the left side of that guy, and all of a sudden I could feel a little bit of out in the wind there, so I decided to tuck back behind him for the time being for the rest of this downhill, enjoying the time putting out 0 wattages. But as soon as all of the downhill is done, which is basically right here, this hill doesn't look too steep, but it actually kicks up pretty good. I mean, Garmin, you see the 2% grade, that Garmin's data is always delayed when you hit hills. If you have a Garmin Edge, you probably know that. It can say 0% and you're already up a super steep hill. So it kicks up pretty steep, and after that downhill, it's one of those things that kind of hits you by surprise a little bit. And I definitely used my granny gears a little bit. I don't know if I went full granny gear mode. I've got an 1134 on the back, so I don't know if I went full granny gear, at least this first lap, but it was definitely used on the later laps, which we will cut off before that for reasons you're about to see. But I'm still hanging out kind of towards the back. There might be 1 or 2 people behind me. I'm not sure. I don't remember at this point, but I was happy to, I felt good. Like I said, this first lap I felt good. I was glad to still be, in the pack and everything. So heart rate, I was a little, even just to start, as soon as we hit that, as soon as we got let in, I was already, probably just due to nerves being the first race, but my heart rate was already pretty high. And that downhill gave me a little bit of a break, but not really enough that I would say I was kind of like fully recovered. I max out at probably like 185-ish is like where I'm just like, I'm gonna redlining. So 175 cruising at this power output is higher than it probably should have been for me, just due to nerves, I'm sure. But so we're 3.4 miles in. There's about a mile left for the lap. And this right here is basically the last little break, excuse me, you get before all of the climbing starts. After this, you don't get really any downhill into the uphill. And so we still hadn't broken up on the last little climb. So like I said, I was still optimistic you can't see my, when we get to the finish line, my wife and kids and mother-in-law were there, and I remember giving them a thumbs up because like I felt I was happy, you know. I told them like as long as I come around and I'm with the group, because they've never watched cycling or anything like that, they don't really know. So I told them, I was like, as long as I'm with the group, doesn't matter where I'm at, as long as I'm with the group, I'm happy. And so I remember giving them the thumbs up when I crossed the finish line for the first time. But as you'll see, things came apart a little fast after that. So this little punch here, I think it got up to maybe 12%. Some other people, this 107, this Enjoy guy, I think he started feeling it like I did. The 111 there on the right, Sierra Nevada, I think he's the one that ended up winning the race. I think my wife said he was far enough ahead at the finish that the rest of the group, when they finished, they had thought that maybe they won. I don't know if that was just my wife. Maybe the second place was, I was probably stoked I would have been to get second, but she said that he was so far ahead that it seemed like the group actually thought they were leading when they came across the finish line. So that was the second to last little climb. You get a little bit of a break here before the final finish line climb, and that'll be a full lap. And then I've got some Strava data just from the full laps that are kind of interesting to go over. So once we finish a full lap, I will switch over and show some of that. I was glad to see some coasting here, because I was happy to coast at this point. But I was 182 heart rate coming into a pretty decently long sustained climb to finish up a full lap. Definitely not ideal, but like I said, as long as I was with the group, I was happy. And so yeah, if anybody else heard the cheering squad at the top of the hill, they were cheering for everybody. So that was the wife and kids over there screaming at everybody, men, women, the juniors that went off behind us that probably passed me, the 60 plus group, I don't know. But here they were over to the right screaming, "Go Dad." Oh yeah. As I'm sitting there dying at 183 beats per minute. So that was the finish line that we just passed. We haven't got around to the full loop. It'll be just at the top of this, but mentally, like, lap over, and you still have this like climb, which doesn't seem like much. I mean, it's 9%, 10% right here. I don't know, mentally I think it kind of messed with me, because I don't know, like, laps over, it'd be real nice to like lap over, okay, now starts the recovery, but that could not be further from the truth, because you have a pretty decently long kind of sustained climb back to that initial intersection that we got led into to start the race. So we'll finish that off. So right here, I mean, I was looking at my heart rate, and I could tell that I needed to recover. I needed some downhills right now, or some flat ground, and it doesn't come for another minute or two. So I start falling off the back, and I mean, that's basically the kiss of death. But in the back of my head, this gap right here, I wasn't super worried. I mean, I knew the course is going to flatten out and turn into some rolling hills, and I knew if I just maybe pedaled a little bit harder into some of those downhills, I could suck up this gap a little bit. So in the back of my head, I was like, oh, shoot, I'm falling off the back, but I'll just use my fat boy speed on the downhills coming up to get this gap back. So I'm not happy to be off the back, but not super worried, trying to get my heart rate down. So that's a full lap around the course, and as you'll see, the group's kind of, I wouldn't say disappearing, but getting a little out of reach. And I kind of remember kind of like looking down looking at my power, seeing how far they were ahead of me, looking at my heart rate that's not really recovering very much. And I wanted to get closer before the downhill started, but you know, the group didn't really slow down too much, and I just, with my heart rate that high, I just didn't have it in me to put in an effort to get back on the back of the group. And once we got to the downhills, I wasn't able to suck up this gap, so things got really tough. And I'll show the difference. I mean, this is pretty much the rest of the first lap is more of this, me kind of looking at the group disappear off in the distance there. So I'll pull up the Strava to show you exactly what happened here. So here's the full profile of the race. So this first segment here, they have the Winchester Circuit Race loop. So that first lap, you'll see here, we did I did in 13 minutes and 14 seconds. Here, I'll open this. So 13 minutes and 14 seconds at an average speed of 20.2 miles an hour and average power of 248 watts. So now that you know that I was hanging off the back trying to catch up, let's look at the second lap. So the second full lap I did, Winchester Circuit, race loop, here we go. So now the next lap dropped all the way down to 16 minutes 11 seconds, so almost 3 minutes slower. Speed's down to 16.5 from 20.2, but power is almost identical. So 20% speed difference, 20% slower being off the back. That's how big of a difference it makes when you're the only one cutting through the wind, which, I mean, I could feel it, obviously. I mean, I've done enough, group rides that I know being off the back is not ideal. It takes a lot of effort, but yeah, 20%, almost the same power output average on these two laps, but almost 3 minutes and almost 4 full miles an hour difference. So it's pretty crazy to look back at that and see exactly how big of a difference that made. So yeah, back to the race here, you can see the group just kind of disappearing off into the distance, and I'd actually thought that I was the back marker because I don't know if it was at this, I don't know if he already passed or he's about to, but the motorcycle was just kind of behind me, and at some point he kind of passed, or there he goes right there. So see you later. He kind of gave up on me, and I was falling off the back and wasn't going to catch up, so he took off. So the rest of the race kind of went like this. It didn't get any better, unfortunately, and there did end up being someone behind me. I will fast forward. Let's go ahead and fast forward until someone meets up with me here. So I'm about to crest the hill before the finish line hill, and I thought I was in the back, and out of nowhere I hear tires spinning, and there was someone behind me, and one of the Enjoy Cycling guys, which I didn't know had fallen off the back just like me, but he scared me a little bit. And I asked him, I said, I think I said, holy shit, are you lapping me already? And he said, no, I fell off the back. It must have been on that initial climb after the finish line, the first lap. I didn't know there was anyone left behind me, but he cruises past before the finish line here and kind of disappeared in the distance a little bit, but him and I were definitely working hard out in the wind. I wish I had enough in me to say, hey, let's work together for a couple laps and see what we can do, but I didn't have it in me to even do that by the second lap. So just kind of rode around by myself for a while, enjoyed the course, It's a beautiful place to ride. The roads are awesome, as you can see. So I mean, as terrible as this ride was, it was still, you know, you look back and you're like, oh, you know, it's pretty fun. So, not the best, you know, result, I guess. Like I said, I was just looking to go out and learn and kind of get one under my belt. Speaking of belt, my heart rate strap right now like fell off, and so I was climbing this hill, undoing my jersey, ripping my heart rate strap off. And my wife steps out here and I hand it to her.
I think it fell off, I think it fell off because it got so high.
Me still telling jokes, saying it fell off because my heart was beating so fast. But yeah, somehow my Garmin came unclipped and it was just kind of floating around inside my jersey. So I unzipped my jersey and handed it to her, and that was that. So heart rate disappears. And I told her after the race, I was like, it's probably good because I don't think it ever came down. I mean, once I realized I was riding around by myself, I kind of took it, you know, my lower back got a little bit tight, and it, you know, I stretched a little bit and kind of, I was by myself. There was no coming back. So I enjoyed it at parts after that. So yeah, the rest pretty much goes like this, me huffing and puffing and riding around by myself. But all in all, I mean, good experience. I mean, I'm a competitive person, but the first time doing something, I didn't really expect anything. And I'm, you know, honest, old enough and honest enough about my capabilities that I knew I wasn't going to go out there and just like put on a show type thing. So all good. I'm excited to try out some other different types of racing. You know, maybe something a little more flat would suit me better. But all in all, a good first experience. I think I finished second to last. I don't know who was behind me. They probably got a flat. I don't think anyone was actually pedaling and finished behind me. But yeah, I think out of 14 people in the Cat4 and 5, I was 13th, I believe. So yeah, that's how it went. Excited to do some more. If you want to follow me on Strava, if you're in the Roseville, Rockland area, want to go do some rides, find me on Strava, and let's do it. Thanks for watching.